Why is vintage emo clothing sizing so inconsistent? Imagine shopping for vintage emo clothes and feeling like you're navigating a maze. Sizes seem to vary wildly, and it can be confusing. That's because vintage emo clothing sizing is all over the place. Over the years, clothing standards have changed a lot, and different brands had their own ways of sizing. Unlike today, where most brands follow similar size charts, older emo styles were made with different measurements and ideas of fit. Back in the late 1990s and early 2000s, sizing was not standardized. A size 12 in the 1980s might fit much differently than a modern size 12. So, the number on a vintage emo shirt or jacket doesn't match up with current sizing charts. There was no universal system, so each brand or store could have its own way of labeling sizes. That means a medium from one brand might be very tight or loose compared to a medium from another. Another factor is vanity sizing, which became popular later but wasn't common in the early emo scene. Vintage emo clothes often reflected older measurements, which tend to be larger or different from today's sizes. Emo fashion also focused on slim, fitted styles, but the actual cut of the clothing varied a lot. For example, a vintage band t-shirt might be intentionally tight or loose, and that affects the size label. Material and cut also play a role. Emo fashion often used stretchy fabrics, tight jeans, and layered looks. These choices meant that sizing was more about how the clothes looked and felt, not just the measurements. A vintage emo jacket might be cut to be slim or boxy, making size labels less reliable. Wear and tear over time can change the size too. Vintage clothes are often washed many times or altered by fans to fit better. Some people even DIY customize their emo clothes, which can make sizing unpredictable. When shopping for authentic vintage emo clothes, focus on actual measurements like bust, waist, and shoulder width instead of just the size label. Comparing these to your body helps find the right fit. Be ready for some variation and consider tailoring or layering to get the look you want. Remember, emo style is about expressing individuality, so a perfect fit isn't always necessary. In short, vintage emo clothing sizing is inconsistent because it reflects older, varied standards, different brand practices, fashion trends that prioritize style over uniformity, and the effects of wear and customization. Approaching vintage emo clothes with measurements in mind makes it easier to find pieces that fit well and help you achieve that authentic emo look.